The UNESCO World Heritage Committee session is set to take place in Busan starting next week, bringing global attention to Korea's rich cultural heritage. At the same time, Korea's UNESCO World Heritage sites are finding new ways to connect with audiences, not just through preservation, but through live performances. So today, we'll explore how history is being brought back to life on the stage with culture critic Professor Chie Hye-won from Kyung Hee University. Hello, Professor Chie. Welcome back.
Professor.
Hello, good afternoon.
All right, so next week, in just a few days from now, the UNESCO World Heritage Committee session is set to begin in the southeastern city of Busan. So that's going to put the global spotlight on Korea's heritage sites. So what is, first and foremost, unique about Korea's UNESCO World Heritage sites?
Yeah, I think what makes the Korea's World Heritage sites so special is that they do not remain merely as a relic of the past. So, I mean, for instance, people still visit the historical sites such as palaces, gung, Buddhist temples, sachal, and the traditional academies, sawon, to experience them firsthand and keep their legacy alive. So it is truly compelling that the culture of the past is not frozen in time, but continues to breathe and thrive in the present day. So I also believe that the Korean heritage is characterized by seamless harmony with the nature, architecture, and human life. So those elements that are they are not separate but naturally intertwined. So it is not merely the grandeur of the scale or the technical brilliance that endures, but the passage of time, the way of life, and the communal values embedded within them.
From my biased point of view, I think deservedly Korea is home to a number of UNESCO World Heritage sites. If not, there should be a lot more coming as well. These places include like Baekje Historical Areas in Gongju, Jangneung Royal Tomb in Yeongwol, and that's one of the royal tombs of the Joseon Dynasty, right? And could you actually briefly introduce these sites and explain their historical cultural significance?
Right. Although the two sites you just mentioned belong to different era and they possess distinctive atmospheres, but I believe they serve as the heritage sites that showcases the diverse facet of the Korean history. First of all, the Baekje Historic Area in Gongju demonstrate that Baekje was a nation with the open and cosmopolitan culture. At that time, Baekje actively engaged with China and Japan, so fostering outstanding architecture, art, and the Buddhist culture, and serves as a hub for the cultural exchange in Eastern Asia. On the other hand, the Jangneung in Yeongwol is a royal tomb of Danjong, a young king of the Joseon Dynasty. So it has actually recently gained the greater renown through the movie The King's Word, 왕가 사는 남자. So if you visit Jangneung, you can probably experience the depth of the history and emotional resonance that goes beyond the story told in the film. So I believe that these two sites beautifully showcase the appeal of the Korean cultural heritage.
All right, so let's now delve deeper into the performances connected to these sites. So first off, the musical The King Muryong. So this is based on the legacy of King Muryong and the Baekje Kingdom. So what makes this production unique? And also, how can live performances like these actually involve the audiences in, getting more connected with these cultural heritages?
Right. I believe the greatest appeal of the King Muryong lies in how it allows the audience members to personally experience the history rather than simply having it just explained to them. So King Muryong led the renaissance of the Baekje Kingdom. The production goes beyond merely telling the story on stage, and it connects the narrative to the very location where the performance takes place, at the city of Gongju. So enhanced by innovative stage technologies such as a 360-degree rotating seating and the three-sided video mapping, the show offers the audiences an immersive experience, making them feel like they have stepped right into the heart of the Baekje's history. So I believe this approach could serve as an excellent model for the showcasing cultural heritage in the future, because in the end, people don't just remember the site or the history, but they remember the experiences.
Of course.
Right, and Jangneung Royal Tomb in Yeongwol has become the stage of musicals inspired by the life of King Danjong, which obviously got brought more to life recently in cinema with, like, as you said, the King's Warden. Could you tell us about these productions?
Right, that's right. There are several creative works depicting the tragic life of King Danjong are being produced and performed setting against the backdrop of Yeongwol. So the original Korean musical 1457, The Boy at Rest, 소년 잠들다, is one of them, which tells the story of King Danjong and Queen Jeongsun from the perspective of the Korean goblin, 도깨비. So this musical premiered in 2023 and continues to be performed domestically, and it has also been invited to the 2025 Edinburgh Fringe Festival. Another one is immersive site-specific musical Danjong 1698. One of the most notable features of this musical is that the story of King Danjong and Queen Jeongsun unfolds on an outdoor stage at the Jangneung Royal Tomb. So since the historic location itself serves as the stage, so the natural environment and the heritage sites become the integral parts of the performance of the musical itself. So it is very interesting because these two productions, it focuses on different moments of King Danjong. So 1457 is about his tragic death, while the 1698 is about the restoration of his honor more than 240 years later. So together they show these musicals how they can deliver how history can be remembered from very different perspectives.
Right. And through these musicals, and of course, we constantly talked about King's Warden when it was quite in its peak, places people in sort of like a historical moment, creating a different kind of, let's say, emotional connection. Like, it was amazing how well King's Warden did in the cinemas, and now the fact that all these musicals are coming out as well. Do you agree that this is a different connection or immersion for audiences?
Yeah, I do. I believe the depth of the emotional fact is truly different. But for instance, watching the story of King Danjong in just a theater, in a proscenium theater, is a completely different experience from the encountering the same story outdoor at Jangneung, the very place where he is laid in the rest. So Danjong 1698 actually involves actors stepping down from the stage to interact closely with the audience members, and it makes the spectators feels less like a passive observers and more like the participants sharing a moment with the historical scene. So I mean, the space itself becomes a stage, so they're drawing the audience deeper into the narratives. So I believe experiencing and remembering history through the performances like this is one of the most effective ways to engage with the cultural heritage to the cultural contents.
Right. And Professor Chie, because people are now traveling to see these special performances, do you think that these productions could become a cultural brand or a tourist attraction in themselves?
Yeah, I believe it is entirely feasible that, in fact, I think the tourism industry needs to evolve by the integrate more closely with the cultural sector. So recent tourism trends have shifted from the simply visiting famous locations or landmark to placing greater importance of the local experience unique to the specific area. From the perspective, I believe the greatest competitive advantage of the King Muryong or Danjong 1698 is that they can experience exclusively in Gongju or at Jangneung in Yeongwol. So I think the tourists can feel more like in the locations.
Definitely.
And what makes me really proud to hear is actually that several of these productions are now being invited to perform overseas and have received a lot of international recognition. And that's extremely special to do, especially when it's something about history as well. Why do you think performances based on Korean history and cultural heritage resonates with the international audiences?
Right. I believe there is significant potential. The reason is the international audiences connect with the Korean performances is not necessarily because of the specific Korean history involved, but because they resonated with the emotions embedded within the story. So, for instance, as I mentioned earlier, the Boy at Rest was well received at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, and I believe this is because even though the story is set against the Korean historical backdrop, but it captured universal human emotions such as loss or healing. So in other words, people all over the world can relate it to fundamental emotions such as hope, love, or the courage and comfort, and etc. Yes.
Then is there maybe another cultural heritage site in Korea that you would like to see adapted into something like a musical?
Yeah, personally, I would love to see a performance set against the backdrop of Changdeok Palace or the Suwon Hwasong Fortress, because while Changdeok Palace is beautiful itself, and it also holds the diverse stories of the kings or queens or the people of the royal court, of course. As for Suwon Hwasong Fortress, is the history surrounding King Gongju and Crown Princess 사도세자. So it's already widely known, so adapting it into a performance or musical theater would likely make it easier for the audience members to connect with the history and the story itself as well. So I hope more K-heritage performances evolve in a way that more effectively crafted unique stories that can more closely connect it to the actual locations.
Right. Thank you very much, Professor Chie, for your insights, especially very timely with the UNESCO session coming up. And we wish you a great weekend.
Thank you, Professor.
Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, Walter, as always. We're going to have you back here next week.
See you next week.